Hey guys, TGKS Productions. So this video is going to be centered around the new survivals that were just added into GTA Online. Basically, I'm just going to be going over how you should prepare for these survivals, as far as like what weapons you should be taking and whatnot, and a little bit more than that. And then I'm also going to sort of give my overall list of which survivals or sort of ranking of sort of best to worst. I know Professional made a video about that, I believe the day it came out actually. So I'm gonna put that a little bit later in the video, just because I know a lot of people didn't cover what sort of how to prepare for them. So I'm gonna put that first, and then if you sort of want to see my list, I believe my list is a little bit different than his. I don't remember exactly how he ranked them. I sort of have an idea which ones he did, but mine might be slightly different, but also similar too. So that's gonna like I said, I'll show that after I sort of go over how to prepare for the survivals, and then at the very end, I'm sort of just going to give my overall review of the new survivals. So first, let's get into how you should prepare for the survivals. So the first thing you're going to want to do to make sure you are prepared for these survivals is make sure you have full snacks. I can really never express the importance of having full snacks in GTA Online, not just for these survivals, but even with other activities in GTA Online. You're doing heists, contact missions, business missions in free mode for your businesses. Whatever you're doing, these snacks are extremely important and very essential to GTA Online. They're going to save you in a lot of different situations. So, same role applies with these survivals. Make sure you are full on these snacks. You'll see here, I'm just sort of going to my executive assistant. I'm already full on snacks. I always make sure I'm full on snacks, no matter what I'm doing in GTA Online. If you don't have the executive assistant or sort of the other locations, you can get the snacks, or either one of your receptionists at the facilities. And again, if you don't have either a executive office or a facility, you can also just get the snacks from convenience stores, or really any of the convenience stores spread across the map. So any of those, obviously, like I said, if you don't have either the facility or the executive office, you can get them from there. Most people know that, but again, just in case you don't, those are the locations you can get them from. And again, I can't express the importance of snacks enough. These are very important in GTA Online. And again, same thing with the survivals. These are gonna, having snacks are gonna increase your chances of success in these survivals. So make sure you have them. And the other thing to note here is, don't really worry about the redwoods and the pisswasser ones. You only want to make sure you have Eco Chaser, Ecolas, meteorites, and P's and Q's. Those are the only snacks you want to have. Those are the only ones that are important, and those are the only ones that are going to give you more health. So make sure you're full on those four. Don't worry about the pisswasser and the redwood ones. Again, most people probably know that, but just in case you don't, make sure you're full on those four snacks. So now I'm going to get into the weapons you're going to want to be taking into these survivals. The first one I'm going to go over here is the assault shotgun. This is going to be the weapon you're definitely going to want to have going into this survival. So if you don't have this weapon, make sure you have it, and make sure it's really first on your loadout as far as the shotgun is concerned. A lot of times I'll be using this more than half of the time in the survival. You'll see here I sort of went over to the heavy shotgun. Heavy shotgun is also the other automatic shotgun. However, I personally recommend the assault shotgun. Number one, because it actually holds an extra 2 rounds than the heavy shotgun. Even with both having drum magazines, the assault shotgun is going to hold 2 more rounds. On top of holding 2 more rounds, I just like the feel of the assault shotgun a lot better than the heavy shotgun, in my personal opinion. So I definitely recommend that. And that's going to be one of the weapons you are 100% going to want to have going into these survivals. Now the next weapon I definitely recommend having in these survivals is the regular MG. Some people might wonder why I don't say the combat MG, just because if you have the MK2 version of that, obviously you're not going to want to revert it. And on top of that, and the reason why I say that is because if you have special ammo in your combat MG, obviously you're only going to be able to hold 400 to 500 rounds, and that's going to go very quick in a survival. Whereas if you have the regular MG, you're going to be able to hold a full 10,000 rounds, and you're definitely going to want to make sure you have the extended mag on the regular MG, just because you're going to be able to hold almost twice the amount of ammo. I believe a stock clip is around 54 rounds, where an extended mag is going to be around 100 rounds. So make sure you have the extended mag on that. And also, just the MG is going to deal a lot of damage too. So, not only it being, able to hold a lot of ammo, which is going to obviously cause you to have to reload less, which is going to be good in a survival, when you're dealing with a lot of enemies, but also it's going to deal a lot of damage too. So that's another reason why, I really recommend having the regular MG. Now, sort of lastly to go over, there's going to be one more thing I'm going to go over after this, but at least here in the gun store, I'm sort of using this to sort of go over all these weapons, but make sure you have sticky bombs and mines, most importantly. I mean, having grenades are good too, but sticky bombs and mines are going to be really important and essential to these survivals. And the reason why I say that is because really what you want to do in a survival, and I'm going to get into this more when obviously I'm going through the survival, but really what you want to do in a survival is try to channel your enemies to really 1 to 2 angles or spots in a sense. You really don't want them flanking you. You want to be able to take them out really from just 1 to 2 sides, and that's sort of how you want to run a survival. And again, we're going to get into that when I sort of go over what the best survivals are and whatnot, but having things like mines and sticky bombs are obviously going to, help stabilize your position in being able to channel these enemies and give you extra sort of security in case too many enemies are rushing in. You can detonate a sticky bomb, use a mine. You'll also see I'm sort of going over these heavier weapons here like the grenade launcher and the RPG. I recommend also having at least one of those, if not both of them. I like the grenade launcher a little bit better. Again, both hold the same amount of ammo in a sense that, or you can at least store the same amount of ammo with both of them. Grenade launcher is going to hold 10. Or at least you're going to be able to have up to 10 grenades, and then with the RPG you're going to be able to have up to 20 RPGs. So it's the same. So having either one, I personally like the grenade launcher just because you're able to spam it if you're in cover. So if you're getting overrun, that might be beneficial. But more importantly over those, because you can sort of pick those up in the survival, make sure you have sticky bombs and mines. Those are very important. Again, like if you're channeling enemies, you're definitely going to want to have those. And really, to succeed in a survival, you do need to channel your enemies. So having those are going to be very important. Now, I said I was going to add one more thing at the end, but if you've done the research for the explosive rounds, make sure you have the explosive rounds applied to your pump shotgun if you have the MK2 version of that, and also your heavy rifle, your sniper rifle. It's going to prove very beneficial and be very helpful in the survivals. Basically, as far as the air vehicles are concerned, it's going to take out them very quickly. It's only going to take about 2 hits. On top of that, with the juggernauts, it only takes about 1 explosive round typically to take out the juggernauts. Like the shotgun's going to be good for that. And they do get a little bit stronger as the rounds go on, but those are going to be good and obviously beneficial for those reasons. And you're going to see here, I'm also pulling out the body armor. I sort of failed to mention that earlier. You don't really need to worry about the body armor. It's not as important as snacks, but you can store up to 10 body armor in the inventory of your interaction menu. So if you want to do that, you can also do that. Again, if you forget about it, it's not that important. But make sure you have everything else that I sort of went over, because those are all going to help you in the survival. So make sure you have those. Right, so now that I sort of prepared you for the survivals, now I sort of want to go through my list of, what I think, sort of the best to worst ones. I'm going to list them in order. I'm going to, numerical order, so you can sort of see. And I'm also going to go through my reasoning as why. Like I said, I know professionals made a video about this, but I believe my list is a little bit different, and I will give reasoning to why I picked each one of these survivals. So, first, my most recommended one, I recommend the nuclear silo survival. Second, I recommend the Grove Street one. I then recommend the Farmhouse survival. As number 4, I recommend the Meth Lab one. Number 5, I recommend Stab City. Number 6, I recommend the Forest one. And then number 7, I recommend the Zancudo one. Again, that's sort of like best to worst. That's sort of my numbering of them, or my ordering of them. And again, I will get into why I made that order and sort of list my reasoning and, go through each one of these survivals. So first, I'll sort of go through why I believe missile base is really the best survival to do, and even solo for the most part as well. So as you'll see here, you see how we start out. I'm sort of going up these stairs here to the 2nd floor. And you'll see right here there's a health package, and then to the right there's a door. Basically, you want to sort of camp out in this room here. And really, you can do this for just about the whole survival. Enemies will come over to you, or they will enter in that room. You sort of channel them in there. Occasionally you may want to move up to more the entrance of the door, because sometimes it takes a while for them to come over. They don't, they're not, this is one survival where they don't really all rush over to you, at least in this room here, but they will eventually come over. So you can sort of camp out in this room for the majority of the survival. You know, use your you could set mines on the door, set sticky bombs, and you can also, you know, sort of just use the automatic shotgun as well. And you'll end up seeing here in this survival. The other reason that's good about this survival is this survival does not have air vehicles, since obviously you're inside the missile silo. So that's another sort of advantage. However, the air vehicles sort of get switched out for juggernauts. Juggernauts also can be killed fairly quickly if you use the explosive rounds that I talked about earlier, especially with the shotgun. I'll show you here. I had a juggernaut come in, I detonated a sticky bomb, blind fired one shotgun round into him, killed him. And I did that up until wave 8, until they ended up getting stronger, and I was not able to kill the juggernaut. He ended up coming in and killing me. So you do want to keep in mind that they do get stronger as they go on. But for the most part, this survival is probably the easiest one to complete solo, and really the best one as far as being able to channel your enemies. You're only going to get hit from that, really from that door. And again, you can sort of just move up and down that door. You know, move up a little bit, kill a few enemies outside. If you start getting hit hard, pull back. You know, this survival, again, works very well in that sense. And again, it's probably the easiest one to complete solo as well. Also, one more thing I also wanted to sort of say about the survival. What's nice is, as you saw, is there's a health package that's outside of this door. Obviously, if you start running low on snacks, that health package is going to respawn every single round. So you can just easily go out, grab it real quick, come back into the room, and then just sort of camp out. So that's also another sort of benefit of this survival and in sort of this area of the survival. Now for the second survival that I recommend, which is the Grove Street one, this is also a good survival that you're able to channel your enemies. The spot that you'll see me in right now is you can kind of see, you get an idea from the mini map. Essentially, you can channel your enemies from this spot pretty well. And at the beginning of the round, as you'll see here, I sort of just came out, took out some enemies. You can sort of move up if they're obviously not too far back yet, but further down the line, you know, within a round, or even, you know, when the rounds start getting heavier, you're going to basically want to really stay back in the position that I was. And, you know, you'll even see that really the only other way that they can come is they will go behind you. However, they're not going to come directly behind you. They're going to sort of go around behind you and then come from the left side. Now, I'll show you that. But for the most part, as long as you're careful about those two sides, and again, you can set things up like sticky bombs or mines to sort of fortify those positions. But, you know, you're only going to get hit from those two sides, which is nice. And if you use something like the automatic shotgun, you know, you're going to easily be able to take out those enemies, you know, channeling them through your spot. And the other thing that's nice is this house that I'm at, there's sort of like a canvas roof, or a little mini canvas roof. So if you start getting hit by the helicopter, you can sort of run under there. You know, if you start getting hit hard, for the most part, you should be safe from the helicopter in this position. But, you know, for the most part, you're just worrying about the enemies. But yeah, I mean, from this spot, you know, you can easily channel them. They're only going to come from those two areas. And, you know, like I said, that's sort of why I recommend this as the second one. As far as, you know, even solo and just all around, you know, the survival itself, you know, this is my second recommended one. Now, my reasoning for recommending the Farmhouse survival is because this farmhouse that's in the survival. If you go to the top floor of the farmhouse and you sort of go to the room that's right across from the stairs, as soon as you come upstairs, it's really good to channel your enemies in this room. They're really only going to be able to hit you from one angle. They're not going to come onto the balcony or anything like that. So, you know, you can easily channel them into just that one room or that doorway. And if you want to, every now and then you can sort of shoot off the balcony. And also, not only that, you know, you're protected from the air vehicles. Obviously, the air vehicles aren't going to be able to hit you since you're inside this house. So that's also beneficial. And you can easily take out the air vehicles from the balcony. So, you know, at the end of a round, you know, say the air vehicle is the only vehicle left, you can sort of just peek out on the balcony, you know, hit it with 2 explosive rounds, RPG, whatever, be able to easily take it out and obviously easily complete the round. So that's sort of why I advocate the Farmhouse as being the third best survival. Now, getting into the survivals that I don't really recommend, they're not bad, but they're definitely a little bit harder than the first 3 that I went over. But for this one, the Meth Lab one, it's going to spawn you out on this balcony that I'm on right now. For the most part, you really just want to stay up on this balcony the whole time, and you really don't want to worry about the enemies that are, you know, obviously on the ground. You really only want to watch and channel through the them coming through the Meth Lab, because that's sort of the channeling method you want to go for. If you start worrying about the ones on the ground, likely one's going to flank you and you're going to end up getting killed. So you really only want to focus on that. That's sort of going to be your channeling method on this one. For the most part, you'll see here I started kind of shooting the ones on the ground, but again, you really only want to focus on hitting the ones that are coming through the building onto the balcony. And there's also one thing that's kind of interesting about this is that you don't want to throw any explosives really, because for whatever reason these vents blow up sometimes on the roof, and it can actually really mess you up. Typically the explosion won't kill you, but it's going to end up throwing you, and then you're going to likely get killed by one of the enemies. So I really wouldn't use explosives. That's another reason why I don't really like this file that much, because they kind of randomly explode. Sometimes I haven't even thrown an explosive down, they'll still explode. I don't know if it's because it got shot or what, but you want to be careful about that. And then another thing that's kind of interesting about this, if you can get up there, it's a little bit difficult. I've seen people get up there, and I've actually got up there once myself. I haven't been able to get up again, but there's actually a way you can sort of get up on the very top of the meth lab or the roof. If you can get up there, that's probably going to obviously increase your chances of surviving this survival. Again, I have a lot of trouble getting up there. I've seen some other people do it. I've done it one time, but it is fairly challenging to get up there. So the main method you want to run through on this one is just channel them through the meth lab and sort of just take them out as they come through, and that's sort of how you want to run this survival. That's going to be your best chance of success. Now with the Stab City one, this is sort of another one that I don't really not recommend, but it's definitely a more challenging one, and definitely recommend doing it with more people. As you'll see here, I was doing it with two other guys, and we sort of really shut down just about every area or pathway that the enemies could take to get to us. And that's sort of why I really don't recommend this one, just because trying to do this solo would be super difficult, just because you got about 3 to 4 different ways these enemies can come. Basically all three of us ended up really shutting down pretty much every route that these enemies could take to try to kill us. And I'll actually show at the end here that we ended up messing this up, because one of the guy actually ended up dying, another guy wasn't over in the spot, and that sort of messed up the equilibrium of our method. And you'll see I just end up getting surrounded from literally every single possible way the enemies could take, and I only survived for about maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and obviously ended up dying. So again, this one's very difficult if you don't have more people, and even with more people it could be difficult. So that's sort of why I don't really recommend this one. Again, if you're going to do it, definitely I recommend being sort of in the area that I was in. But again, doing it solo is going to prove very difficult, and I really don't recommend it. You're going to want to have a good team to tackle this particular survival. Now, getting into the survivals that I really do not recommend doing, this one is the forest one that you're seeing here. This one I definitely really do not recommend that you do. Even if you're doing it with other people, it's going to prove very difficult. Even here, I'm struggling to find a good cover position. I mean, there's really no good cover that's going to be able to, you're going to be able to efficiently channel your enemies. You're going to probably get flanked really just about every round, or the majority of the time. So you can't really channel your enemies. You're getting flanked a lot. There's really not really any good cover for the air vehicles. It's pretty open. The ground's unlevel. You're going to be less accurate. And I mean, you're just seeing here, I'm getting flanked from all different directions. And I actually believe I ended up dying this wave. So again, you really don't want to, out of all the survivals, forest is definitely one I really don't recommend if you're going to choose one. I said, doing it solo is difficult, but even doing it with other players is going to prove pretty difficult. So this is one you're really going to want to stay away from. Alright, now obviously the worst survival to really do at all is the Kudo one. Just by the clip that I'm showing right here should tell you how bad that survival is. I actually do not have a clip of that one because I only played it one time, and I was like, yeah, this is the worst one. So that's the one you really want to completely avoid altogether. I mean, that's that's gonna be, or you're gonna want that to be your last pick for a survival. It is the worst one you can do. The boundaries are sort of just right in the middle of the base. There's really no good cover. There's no elevated cover. There's no cover to really protect you from air vehicles. You're getting flanked from just about every single direction. So it's absolutely horrible. So, like I said, I don't even have a clip of it, because I only played it one time, that was it. So, definitely, that is the Kudo, in my opinion, is the worst survival that you can do. So definitely stay away from that one. That like I said, that you want that to be your very last pick for a survival. And finally, just to sort of give an overall review of these survivals, obviously these aren't going to really be things you're going to want to grind. I actually show an example up here, but the one that I did that I was talking about, or when I was talking about the Stab City one, when I was doing it with the other 3 people, we reached wave 8, and we only got, or at least I only got $38,280 Played some other ones solo. I believe the most that I've ever gotten was around 106,000. I've seen some people get more than that. Time is really the biggest factor in how much you're going to get, but if you take into consideration how much time you're putting into these, and these are also double money in RP, so also take that into consideration. If you really take all that into consideration, you could be making way more off of like your businesses and whatnot in GTA. So obviously you don't want to grind these, but these are just more of something you want to do just for fun every now and then, or you got a squad together. You want to just kind of mess around, see if you can kind of get all 10 waves, or see how high up. Obviously now you can do an infinite number of waves, so or at least past wave 10. So if you sort of want to challenge yourself, they're kind of nice for that. But that's really the only time you ever want to play these, because for how challenging they are, you really don't get paid that much. So that's sort of my review of these new GT Online survivals. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. I apologize for the length. Went into a lot of depth, but I really feel this will prove helpful and beneficial to you as far as these survivals are concerned. And as always, make sure you guys have a great day, have a nice rest of the weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.